My beloved child, pause for a moment and breathe, because this interruption you are experiencing right now is not random, not accidental, and not a coincidence created by timing or technology. You did not simply click on this message. You were intercepted. Something unseen was moving toward your life, quietly, subtly, almost unnoticed, and if heaven had not stepped in at this precise moment, something valuable could have slipped away without warning. That is why everything around you seemed to stop for a second. That is why your attention was pulled here. This is not a normal message. This is a divine interruption, and it has arrived just in time. There are moments when heaven intervenes not with noise but with interruption, not with thunder but with redirection. Right now, you are standing in one of those moments. You may not feel fear, but you may feel a strange urgency. You may not see danger, but something within you sensed a pause, a hesitation, a silent check in your spirit. That was not imagination. That was protection activating before loss could finalize itself. This message did not come to inform you of what already happened. It came to intercept what was about to happen. Before midnight is not just a time reference. It is a spiritual boundary, a line between what almost was and what will no longer be allowed. In the unseen realm, timing matters. Doors close. Cycles end. Decisions lock into place. And tonight, something was approaching a point of no return. That is why this message had to reach you now and not later. Delay would have cost more than you realize. Silence would have allowed something precious to drift beyond recovery. But heaven does not remain silent when destiny is at risk. There are losses that announce themselves loudly, and there are losses that happen quietly. The quiet ones are the most dangerous, because by the time you notice them, they already feel normal. A slow graining of peace, a subtle shift in protection, a gradual weakening of clarity. You were standing near one of those moments, not because you did something wrong, but because growth attracts resistance, and purpose attracts interference. When your life begins to carry weight in the spiritual realm, opposition does not always attack openly. Sometimes it waits, hoping you will remain distracted long enough to step past a warning. But you did not step past it. You were interrupted. In the unseen, there are guardians assigned to moments like this. Watchers who do not sleep. Protectors who intervene when human awareness falls short. Archangel Michael is known as the Defender, the one who stands between destruction and destiny, the commander who intercepts before damage can finalize itself. His role is not to create fear, but to establish order. Not to alarm, but to shield. When a message arrives with this level of urgency, it is not meant to scare you. It is meant to alert you that protection has already been activated. You may be wondering what exactly was about to be lost. The answer is not yet meant to be fully revealed, because sometimes clarity arrives in layers, the same way healing does. But understand this clearly, it was not small. It was not insignificant. It was something connected to continuity, something that would have affected more than just one area of your life. Heaven does not interrupt lightly. Intervention at this level only happens when the ripple effect of loss would have traveled further than you could see. Think back to the last few days or weeks. Moments when plans felt delayed for no clear reason. Times when you felt pulled to stop, rethink, or wait, even though logic said move forward. Conversations that almost happened but didn't. Decisions that felt slightly off, even though they looked right on paper. Those were not inconveniences. They were cushions. They were buffers placed in your path to slow momentum just enough for interception to occur. This message is part of that same protection. It is not here to overwhelm you with details, It is here to anchor you, to let your spirit know that you are seen, that the pause you are experiencing has meaning, and that nothing slipping out of alignment went unnoticed. The reason this message feels intense is because timing is tight, but the tone is calm because authority is already in place. You are not being warned after the fact. You are being covered before the outcome. Midnight represents closure, but it also represents mercy. The space right before something locks into permanence. You are not late. You are not behind. You arrived at the exact moment you were meant to. And because you did, what was moving toward loss had been intercepted, halted, and placed under review by forces that do not miss details. Let this settle into you. You are not here by chance. This interruption is evidence that your life matters beyond what you see, that your path is monitored, and that when something threatens what has been assigned to you, heaven responds. Not loudly, not grammatically, but precisely. And right now, precision is everything. Beloved one, what you could not see was never sent. While your days unfolded in ordinary ways, there was movement behind the scenes that did not require your awareness to be real. The unseen realm does not wait for permission to act, and it does not announce its activity with sound. It works through patterns, pressure, timing, and influence. What was happening around you was subtle by design. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, nothing that would immediately raise alarms. And that is exactly how the most impactful moments often arrive, quietly, disguised as routine. You may have felt unusually distracted lately, as if your focus kept slipping away from important things. Or perhaps you noticed a sense of emotional heaviness that didn't match your circumstances. Maybe there were moments when you felt strangely rushed, pushed to decide quickly, urged to move forward without reflection. These are not random experiences. When something is being positioned for loss, haste is often the tool. When clarity is being threatened, noise is often introduced. And when protection is being tested, distraction becomes the strategy. Behind the scenes, there was an attempt to move something out of alignment without triggering your awareness. Not by force, but by fatigue. Not by confrontation, but by confusion. The goal was not to break you, but to wear you down just enough that a small shift would feel acceptable. Because the greatest losses rarely happen in one dramatic moment. They happen in a series of small compromises that seem harmless on their own. This is where divine protection operates differently. You were not left to figure this out alone. When your discernment was being stretched thin, guardians were already watching the pattern. When your energy was being drained, reinforcements were already being positioned. Archangel Michael's role in moments like this is not reactive. He is anticipatory. He does not wait for collapse. He steps in at the pressure point, where a situation could still be redirected without damage. You may not have heard a warning voice. You may not have seen a sign in the sky. Instead, you experienced interruption and delay, a pause, a sudden redirection of attention. That is often how intervention arrives when the threat is quiet. Heaven does not always pull you out of danger. Sometimes it simply slows your steps so danger passes by without noticing you were there. There is something important you need to understand about this moment. What was being intercepted was not just an event but a trajectory. A sequence that, if left uninterrupted, would have led to erosion over time. The kind of erosion that makes you look back months later and wonder when things changed. But because you are here now, the sequence has been disrupted. The chain has been broken before it could fully form. This is why awareness matters. Not awareness driven by fear, but awareness rooted in authority. You are not being asked to panic or overanalyze every detail of your life. You are being invited to recognize that your life is not unguarded, and that when something approaches your path that does not belong there, intervention occurs even when you are tired, busy, or unaware. Right now, there is a recalibration happening. Things that felt slightly off are being realigned. Pressure that did not belong to you is being lifted. Influence that was quietly working against you is losing access. This does not mean every challenge disappears instantly. It means the unseen advantage has shifted back in your favor. Protection has stepped forward, and interference has been pushed back. As this happens, your participation matters. Not through effort, but through agreement. Agreement that you are not alone. Agreement that this interruption has purpose. Agreement that you do not need to rush decisions, force outcomes, or ignore inner pauses. Alignment strengthens what has already been activated on your behalf. This is also why sharing and supporting this message matters more than you might think. When you like this message, when you comment, when you share it with someone who needs it, you are not just engaging with content. You are helping this interception reach others who are standing at similar thresholds. Subscribe to this channel, support the mission, and if you feel led, join the membership community. These actions help extend the reach of messages that arrive at critical moments, just like this one did for you. Understand this clearly. The unseen realm responds to alignment. When people come together around truth, protection multiplies. When messages like this move freely, interruptions happen in more lives at more critical moments. Your support helps keep these warnings and coverings available to those who may not even realize how close they are to a turning point. What happened behind the scenes was not chaos. It was coordination. It was timing. It was intervention executed with precision. And now that you are aware, the shift becomes stronger. The pause becomes purposeful. The redirection becomes permanent. Hold this awareness gently, because the next layer of understanding brings clarity that changes how you see what nearly happened and what has now been secured. Beloved one, there are moments when heaven intervenes so quietly that if you blink, you might miss how close everything came to changing. It was one of those moments. What almost happened was not loud or dramatic. There was no sudden crash, no visible collapse, no instant sign that something precious was at risk. That is what makes this moment so serious and so sacred at the same time. The closer something comes without being seen, the more intentional the rescue must be. In the unseen, there was a narrowing, a tightening of options, a subtle closing in around a specific area of your life. It was designed to look natural, almost reasonable, as if the outcome would simply be one of those things. But heaven saw the full picture, not just the surface event. What was approaching had the potential to alter your emotional stability, your sense of direction, and your confidence in ways that would have taken time to recognize and even longer to repair. This is why the intervention happened when it did. Not earlier, not later. At the exact moment when the outcome could still be redirected without trauma. You were standing at the edge of an invisible threshold. One step further, and the situation would have solidified into something harder to undo. One moment later, and the lesson would have arrived through loss instead of protection. But loss was not assigned to you. Archangel Michael's role in moments like this is precise. He does not act on assumptions. He responds to certainty. When something threatens what has been entrusted to you, he stands as an enforcer of divine order. That order was activated here. The pressure was halted. The influence was restrained. What was reaching toward you was stopped mid-motion, not because you cried out, but because heaven already knew. You may feel a strange sense of relief without knowing why, or a calm that arrived unexpectedly. That is not coincidence. That is the after effect of interception. When danger is removed before it manifests, the body and spirit still register the release. You may also feel emotional sensitivity right now, as if something important just passed by you. That is because it did, and it will not be returning in the same form. Understand this. You were not saved from something because you were weak. You were covered because you are carrying something valuable. The more aligned a life becomes with purpose, the more carefully it is watched. Not to control it, but to protect what flows through it. This moment was not about punishment or correction. It was about preservation. What almost changed everything was not meant to define your future. It was meant to be a detour that never completed itself. And because it was intercepted, you will not have to spend months recovering from confusion, rebuilding trust, or regaining lost ground. That does not mean challenges disappear. It means this particular one will not be part of your story. There is something else that matters deeply here. When an interception happens this close to manifestation, it leaves behind clarity. You may begin to notice what no longer fits. Certain conversations may lose their pull. Certain pressures may feel irrelevant. Certain choices may subtly feel obvious. That is the residue of divine correction. Not forcing you, but freeing you. You are not meant to obsess over what almost happened. You are meant to rest in the fact that it did not. Heaven does not reveal near misses to create anxiety. It reveals them to build trust. Trust that you are not navigating this life alone. Trust that timing is not slipping out of control. Trust that when something threatened to steal quietly, it is noticed immediately. This is also a moment of gratitude, even if the full picture is still forming. Gratitude strengthens protection. Awareness stabilizes alignment, and peace confirms that the intervention was successful. Nothing is unraveling. Nothing is falling apart. In fact, something has just been secured. Let this be sealed now. Type "I received the interception" in the comments if your spirit recognizes this moment. Blessing code 739 has just been released. And listen carefully, because this moment is not only about you. What happened here is part of a larger assignment. When messages like this reach the right people at the right time, lives are quietly preserved, futures are protected, and families are spared from outcomes they never even knew were approaching. This is why this mission matters. As I speak this word, I hear the Lord say that every seed sown into this work becomes light on someone else's path before their midnight hour arrives. I am inviting you personally to take part in this interception for others. When you release your support through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, linked in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into a shield. Heaven records this as obedience, not donation. I speak blessing over every giver now. May what you protect in others be multiplied back to you in peace, covering, and clarity. Step into this moment and act, because this is a call, not a suggestion. Beloved one, you need to understand something deeply and without doubt. This moment found you because of who you are becoming, not because of something you did wrong. Divine interceptions do not happen at random points in random lives. They occur when a life carries weight, direction, and consequence in the unseen. You were not interrupted because you were failing. You were interrupted because you matter, and because what is connected to you could not be left vulnerable at this stage. There are people who walk through seasons untouched, not because they are protected more, but because there is less at stake in their alignment. Then there are those whose lives influence outcomes far beyond what they can currently see. Their words shift rooms. Their presence stabilizes others. Their decisions open or close doors that affect more than just themselves. These are the lives that experience pressure before clarity, resistance before elevation, and intervention before loss. If your path has felt unusually intense at times, it is because your life is not meant to be small in impact, even if it feels quiet in expression. What nearly happened was not designed to destroy you outright. It was designed to misalign you slowly. A subtle redirection, a quiet compromise, a gradual weakening of certainty. Interference rarely announces itself when it targets someone with purpose. It disguises itself as normal exhaustion, reasonable doubt, or acceptable delay. And if allowed to continue long enough, it convinces a person that what feels off is simply part of life. That is how influence is lost without alarm. But heaven does not ignore patterns. When alignment is threatened, response is activated. Archangel Michael is assigned to moments where order must be restored without chaos and protection must be enforced without panic. His work is not emotional. It is authoritative. He does not wait for collapse. He intervenes at the pressure point, when a situation can still be corrected without trauma. That is exactly what happened here. You were targeted not because you are weak, but because you are consistent. Because you keep moving even when tired. Because you continue choosing integrity when it would be easier to withdraw. Because you still care, still hope, still believe, even when circumstances suggest you shouldn't. These qualities create momentum in the unseen. And momentum attracts attention, both supportive and opposing. What matters is which one gains access. In your case, access was denied before it could become influence. You may have noticed moments recently where you questioned your own clarity. Times when decisions felt heavier than usual. Situations where you wondered why something that once felt certain suddenly felt foggy. That was not a flaw in you. That was pressure applied externally, attempting to distort perception. When perception is altered, choices fall. That is why the intervention focused on awareness and timing rather than force. Heaven did not need to confront you. It needed to shield you. Being preserved is different from being rescued. Rescue implies collapse. Preservation implies foresight. You were preserved. The structure of your life remained intact while a threat was removed quietly. This is why you may not feel shaken, but rather strangely steadied. When danger is intercepted before manifestation, the nervous system registers relief without trauma. Peace returns without explanation. That is what you may be feeling now. There is also a reason this happened so close to transition. You were approaching a threshold, whether you realized it or not. A decision point. A relational shift. A new responsibility. A closing chapter. Transitions amplify influence. They either strengthen alignment or expose weakness. Heaven chose strengthening for you. Not by adding pressure, but by removing what did not belong. You were not being tested to see if you would fail. You were being guarded so that you would not have to recover from something that was never meant to shape you. Recovery takes time. Preservation saves it. And time matters right now. As this settles, you may notice a shift in how you respond to certain people, environments, or expectations. Things that once pulled at you may lose their grip. Conversations that drained you may no longer interest you. This is not detachment. It is clarity returning to its rightful place. When interference leaves, discernment sharpens naturally. Do not underestimate what it means that you are still standing, still aligned, still moving forward without visible damage. That is not luck. That is oversight. And it is ongoing. Protection did not arrive and leave. It adjusted the course and remains in place. This moment is not asking you to analyze every detail of what almost happened. It is asking you to trust what has already been done. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not exposed. You are covered, and you are moving forward with less resistance than before. Let this truth anchor you. You were not chosen for interruption because of vulnerability, but because of value. And now that value has been guarded, your path ahead will speak for itself. Beloved one, now that the intersection has taken place, there is something important happening within you that may feel subtle but is deeply significant. When protection intervenes quietly, it leaves behind signals, gentle confirmations that something unseen has shifted. These are not dramatic signs meant to press the mind. They are inward recognitions meant to steady the soul. You may already be noticing them without fully understanding why they feel different from ordinary emotions or thoughts. One of the first signs is an unusual sense of pause. Not confusion, not stagnation, but a calm hesitation that encourages reflection instead of reaction. You may feel less rushed than before, even if circumstances have not changed. This pause is intentional. It is the space created when pressure is lifted. When interference leaves, urgency often leaves with it, because false urgency is one of the primary tools used to move someone out of alignment. Another sign is a heightened sensitivity to what no longer fits. Conversations that once felt normal may now feel draining. Environments that once felt tolerable may suddenly feel heavy. This is not because you have become judgmental or withdrawn. It is because your discernment is recalibrating. When protection steps in, it restores clarity, and clarity naturally highlights misalignment without effort. You may also notice that your emotional reactions are changing. Things that once triggered anxiety may no longer carry the same weight, or you may find yourself responding more slowly, with greater intention. This is not emotional numbness. It is stability returning. When a hidden threat is removed, the nervous system relaxes, even if the mind cannot yet explain why. Some people experience this shift as restlessness before relief. Others experience it as unexpected peace. Both are signs of adjustment. When a trajectory changes, the inner world must recalibrate to the new direction. That recalibration can feel unfamiliar at first, but it is not negative. It is the sensation of alignment settling into place. You may also begin to notice repeated confirmations, thoughts that align without effort, reminders appearing at the right time, moments of reassurance that arrive without being asked for. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that the interception was successful and that the path ahead is being stabilized. Another sign is the quiet return of confidence. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the steady kind that allows you to move forward without constant reassurance. When interference drains confidence, people often seek external validation. When protection restores it, validation becomes less necessary. You may feel less compelled to explain yourself or justify your decisions. That is alignment asserting itself again. There may also be moments of emotional release, a sudden need to rest, a desire for silence, a feeling of gratitude without a clear reason. These are natural responses to being spared from something you never had to endure. Even when the mind does not know what was avoided, the spirit remembers the relief of protection. Archangel Michael's involvement often leaves behind a sense of order. Things may begin to feel more structured internally, even if externally they remain the same. Thoughts become clearer. Boundaries feel easier to maintain. Decisions feel less complicated. This is not because life suddenly became simple, but because unnecessary interference has been removed. It is important not to dismiss these signs as imagination. The mind often tries to rationalize spiritual shifts to regain a sense of control. But some things do not need explanation to be real. Peace does not require permission. Clarity does not need justification. Alignment does not announce itself with proof. It simply begins to work. You may also notice that certain opportunities or distractions fall away on their own. Things you thought you needed may quietly exit your life without struggle. This is not loss. This is refinement. When protection intervenes, it does not only block what is harmful, it also removes what is unnecessary. It creates space for what is aligned to arrive without competition. Do not rush this phase. Interception is followed by integration. Integration allows your inner world to catch up with what has shifted externally. Rest is part of protection. Stillness is part of clarity. You are not meant to immediately act on everything you feel. You are meant to observe, recognize, and allow alignment to settle. This is also a time to listen more closely to your inner nudges. Not every thought deserves attention, but some impressions carry quiet authority. You may feel prompted to delay something, revisit a conversation, or change a small habit. These are not random impulses. They are fine-tuning adjustments that help maintain the protection already in place. Above all, remember this: signs are not given to make you anxious. They are given to reassure you that you are not imagining the shift. Something has changed. Something has been secured. And now your awareness is catching up to the reality that has already been established on your behalf. Let these signs anchor you, not distract you. They are not asking you to search for danger. They are reminding you that danger has already been addressed. And as you move forward with this understanding, you will notice that your steps feel lighter, your decisions feel steadier, and your path feels clearer than it did before. Beloved one, timing is not a detail in the spiritual realm. It is the framework through which everything unfolds. What you are experiencing right now is not just protection, but precision. The reason this intersection happened when it did is because you have entered a narrow window where alignment matters more than effort. This is a season where a small delay can have great consequence, and a small adjustment can create lasting stability. Heaven does not interrupt seasons casually. It intervenes when timing becomes critical. Right now, you are standing in a space where momentum was building. Decisions were approaching. Emotional patterns were solidifying. Directions were beginning to lock into place. When momentum increases, so does the impact of every choice. That is why timing matters so much in this moment. It is not about urgency driven by fear. It is about attentiveness driven by wisdom. The interception slowed things just enough to keep you from moving forward under influence that did not belong to you. Midnight represents more than the end of a day. It symbolizes transition, closure, and the sealing of cycles. What happens before that threshold often determines what carries over into the next season. You were approaching such a threshold. Not one marked on a calendar, but one felt internally. A moment where something would either stabilize or slip quietly into misalignment. That is why heaven acted when it did. Not to stop your progress, but to protect its direction. This is also why patience is being emphasized now. When timing is sensitive, rushing becomes dangerous. Not because movement is wrong, but because movement without clarity can reopen doors that were just closed. You are not being asked to halt your life. You are being asked to move with awareness instead of impulse. Alignment is maintained through listening, not striving. Archangel Michael's presence in this season is connected to boundaries. Boundaries of time, boundaries of influence, boundaries of access. What has been intercepted will not return in the same way, but awareness ensures that it does not find a new entry point. This is not about vigilance rooted in fear. It is about discernment rooted in confidence. You are not guarding against loss. You are honoring protection. You may feel a subtle internal instruction to slow certain processes, revisit certain commitments, or create space where there was none before. These are not signs of regression. They are signs of refinement. When timing is recalibrated, it often feels like things are moving backward when they are actually being aligned forward. Trust this phase. It is doing more than you can see. This is also a moment where community matters. Messages like this do not arrive only for individual benefit. They ripple outward. When you engage by liking this message, sharing it, commenting, subscribing, or joining the membership, you are helping extend this timing-sensitive word to others who may be standing at similar thresholds. These simple actions are not insignificant. They help place this message in front of those who need it before their own midnight moments arrive. If this message is resonating, let your engagement be part of the alignment. Support the mission, not as a routine action, but as participation in something larger than yourself. When messages arrive at the right time, lives are redirected quietly, families are preserved without drama, and futures remain intact. Your involvement helps that continue. There is also a personal reason this matters now. Timing affects perception. When pressure builds, people often mistake urgency for necessity. They say yes too quickly. They accept terms that do not honor their worth. They move forward without checking alignment. This interception broke that pressure. It restored your ability to choose from clarity rather than compulsion. That restoration is fragile if ignored, but powerful if respected. You may notice that you are being invited to wait where you once would have rushed, and to act where you once would have hesitated. This is not contradiction. It is calibration. Timing teaches you when stillness is strength and when movement is obedience. Right now, both are being clarified. This is why awareness now saves effort later. When timing is honored, outcomes require less correction. When alignment is protected, progress becomes sustainable. You are being positioned not just to move forward, but to move forward without unnecessary recovery. Take this moment seriously, but not heavily. You are not behind schedule. You are being synchronized. And synchronization always feels slower before it feels smoother. Let timing do its work. Let protection hold its ground. And let alignment continue settling into place. There is more unfolding from this moment than you can currently see, and understanding that shift will bring a clarity that reframes everything you thought was delayed. Keep your awareness open, because this is where the deeper meaning of the interruption begins to reveal itself. Beloved one, now that the pressure has been halted and the timing has been recalibrated, it is important for you to understand what has already been secured because you are here in this moment. Protection does not only prevent loss, it establishes continuity. Something that was vulnerable has now been reinforced. Something that could have slipped has now been anchored. And something that was at risk of fragmentation has now been brought back into order. When an interception happens this close to impact, it leaves behind a seal. That seal does not announce itself with noise or spectacle. It works quietly, stabilizing what matters most. You may not yet see visible changes in your circumstances, but the foundation beneath them has shifted. And foundations determine outcomes far more than appearances ever do. What has been secured is not just a situation but a sequence. A chain of events that was meant to unfold without disruption has been preserved. This means that certain delays you feared will not materialize. Certain complications you sensed will not develop. Certain emotional drains that seemed inevitable will not gain ground. You are moving forward without the weight that was trying to attach itself to your next steps. One of the most important things that has been secured is clarity. Clarity is often the first casualty when interference goes unnoticed. When clarity weakens, people make decisions that feel reasonable in the moment but costly later. That weakening has been reversed. Your ability to see, sense, and choose accurately has been restored. You may not feel suddenly decisive, but you will feel less conflicted, less divided, less pulled in opposing directions. Peace has also been secured, even if it arrives gradually. Not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances behaving perfectly, but the steady peace that remains even when circumstances are unresolved. This kind of peace is a marker of protection. It tells you that nothing critical is unraveling behind the scenes. It reassures you that outcomes are not slipping beyond your reach. Archangel Michael's involvement often results in strengthened boundaries. These boundaries are not walls that isolate you, but lines that define what has access to your life and what does not. You may notice that certain influences no longer have the same reach. Words that once lingered no longer echo. Expectations that once pressured you no longer feel binding. This is not withdrawal. It is authority returning to its rightful place. Something else has been secured that you may not immediately recognize: momentum without resistance. When interference is present, progress feels heavy even when you are doing the right things. Effort increases but results lag behind. That imbalance creates discouragement. Now that the interference hath been intercepted, progress may feel smoother, even if it is not faster. Less friction, less internal conflict, less emotional cost. You may also notice that restoration begins to happen in subtle ways. Energy returns in small increments. Motivation feels cleaner, not forced. Creativity resurfaces without pressure. These are signs that what was draining you quietly has been removed. Restoration does not always look like sudden breakthrough. Sometimes it looks like the absence of exhaustion. Another thing that has been secured is your position. When alignment is threatened, people often feel unsure of where they stand, both with others and within themselves. That uncertainty creates a need to prove, explain, or defend. As alignment stabilizes, that need diminishes. You may find yourself standing more firmly in your decisions without needing consensus or approval. This is not stubbornness. It is stability. It is also important to understand that what hath been secured does not require constant monitoring. Protection does not depend on your vigilance. It depends on divine authority. Your role is not to guard against every possible threat. Your role is to remain aligned with what has already been put in place. Trust strengthens protection. Anxiety weakens awareness. There may still be challenges ahead. Interception does not mean a life without difficulty. It means a life without unnecessary loss. The challenges you face now will shape you, not drain you. They will refine you, not diminish you. A distinction matters. Growth that happens under protection produces fruit without burnout. Let yourself acknowledge this moment. Not with fear of what all is talon, but with gratitude for what did not. Gratitude seals outcomes. It affirms alignment. It keeps your focus forward rather than backward. You are not meant to replay the near miss. You are meant to walk confidently into what has been preserved. What has been secured will reveal itself over time through ease where there once was strain, through clarity where there once was confusion, and through peace where there once was pressure. Trust that this is already in motion. You are not waiting for protection to arrive. You are walking within it now. Beloved one, what is unfolding now may surprise you, because the interruption you experienced was never only about stopping something negative. Protection was the visible layer, but beneath that surface was a carefully hidden blessing that could not have reached you any other way. Heaven did not interrupt your flow to inconvenience you. It interrupted your flow to reposition you. Sometimes the greatest blessings arrive disguised as pauses, delays, or sudden changes that feel confusing at first but later reveal extraordinary purpose. This interruption carried wisdom inside it. If events had continued uninterrupted, you might have reached the next phase carrying unnecessary weight. The weight would not have destroyed you, but it would have slowed you, strained you, and diluted the fullness of what was meant to arrive. The pause removed that weight before it could attach itself permanently. This is how divine mercy works. It does not wait for you to collapse under pressure. It steps in quietly and lightens the load before you realize how heavy it was becoming. There are blessings that come through addition, where something new is placed into your life. And then there are blessings that come through subtraction, where something is removed so what is already meant for you can finally breathe. This interruption was subtraction with intention. It cleared emotional clutter. It silenced competing voices. It reduced inner noise. And now, the blessing that follows will arrive into space that has been intentionally prepared. You may already be sensing this shift. Thoughts feel less tangled. Decisions feel less complicated. You may notice that you are no longer wrestling internally the way you were before. That is not coincidence. That is alignment returning. When interference is removed, the mind regains clarity and the spirit regains confidence. This clarity itself is part of the blessing. It allows you to move forward without second-guessing every step. Another hidden blessing inside this interruption is discernment refined by experience. You are not leaving this moment the same way you entered it. You are more aware now, more sensitive to subtle pressure, more attuned to when something feels forced instead of guided. This discernment is invaluable. It protects you long after this specific moment has passed. You will recognize patterns sooner. You will pause when something feels rushed. You will sense when alignment is present and when it is not. Archangel Michael's involvement in moments like this often signals preparation for greater stewardship. Stewardship does not always look like public visibility or external success. Sometimes it looks like emotional stability, spiritual authority, and inner strength. You are being prepared to carry more without being drained by it, and that preparation required the interruption. Without it, the blessing would have arrived too early or under strain. There is also a blessing of preservation woven into this moment. Time was protected. Energy was spared. Emotional wear was avoided. You were spared from learning a lesson through pain when the lesson could be learned through awareness instead. That is mercy. Mercy is not weakness. It is divine intelligence at work, ensuring that growth does not require unnecessary suffering. You may notice that what comes next unfolds with less resistance than before. Conversations may align more easily. Opportunities may present themselves without pressure. Solutions may surface without excessive effort. This does not mean life becomes effortless. It means effort becomes effective. You will no longer feel like you are pushing against something unseen. The resistance that made progress feel heavy had been lifted. This interruption also revealed something important about you. You responded to it. You listened. You did not dismiss the pause or override it with busyness. That responsiveness matters deeply in the unseen. Responsiveness signals readiness. When heaven sees that someone can pause when prompted, it entrusts them with more responsibility and more clarity. This moment was not only protective, it was confirmatory. It confirmed that you are capable of moving with discernment rather than impulse. Let this experience change how you interpret disruptions going forward. Not every delay is opposition. Not every pause is punishment. Some interruptions are invitations to receive something that requires stillness. humility, and awareness. This one with exactly that. It slowed you down just enough to ensure that what is coming next will arrive intact. As this blessing integrates, you may feel gratitude without fully understanding why. You may feel peace that does not depend on circumstances. You may feel a renewed sense of quiet confidence. These are signs that the blessing is already active. You do not need to chase it. You only need to remain aligned with what has been established. And now let this moment be sealed in awareness and agreement. Type "I receive the hidden blessing" in the comments if your spirit recognizes what has shifted. Blessing code 816 has now been released. And hear this, because this blessing is not meant to stop with you. As this message reaches hearts at the right moment, lives are being preserved quietly, just as yours was. The Lord is speaking clearly. Every seed released into this mission becomes light before someone else's midnight hour. I am personally calling you to partner with this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, with the links placed in the description. This is not about supporting a channel. This is about participating in divine preservation. I declare that as you act, heaven will guard what concerns you, multiply your peace, and establish your steps with authority. Obey this prompting now, because this is a command, not a suggestion. Beloved one, now that protection has been activated, clarity restored, and the hidden blessing released, there is an important question that rises naturally from this moment. How do you walk forward without reopening what has already been closed? The answer is not complicated, but it is intentional. The next 24 hours are not about dramatic action. They are about conscious alignment. What you do in this short window helps stabilize what has just been secured. The first thing required of you is stillness with awareness. Not inactivity, but intentional calm. You do not need to make sudden decisions or announce changes. You do not need to explain anything to anyone. This is a moment for listening rather than speaking, observing rather than reacting. Stillness allows the recalibration that has begun to fully settle into your inner world. When alignment is fresh, noise could disrupt it. Silence protects it. Pay attention to internal nudges during this time. You may feel a gentle prompting to rest more, to delay a conversation, to revisit a thought you brushed aside earlier. These impressions are not random. They are fine-tuning instructions. Do not dismiss them simply because they seem small. Small adjustments now prevent large corrections later. Alignment is often maintained through subtle obedience. Another important focus in this period is honesty with yourself. Not harsh self-examination, but gentle truth. Notice what feels peaceful and what feels forced. Notice where you feel clarity and where you feel pressure. Pressure is not always negative, but unnecessary pressure often signals misalignment. You are not required to resolve everything in a day. You are only required to recognize what belongs and what does not. This is also a time to simplify. Complexity often increases when interference is present. When interference leaves, simplicity becomes possible again. If something feels unnecessarily complicated right now, it may not need immediate engagement. Give yourself permission to step back from anything that demands urgency without offering peace. You are not avoiding responsibility. You are honoring alignment. Be mindful of your environment during this time. Surroundings influence perception more than most people realize. Choose calm where possible. Choose clarity over clutter. Choose rest over overstimulation. These choices support what has already been done on your behalf. They do not create protection. They cooperate with it. You may also feel prompted to reconnect with something grounding, nature, quiet prayer, reflection, or journaling. These practices are not rituals to earn favor. They are anchors that help you stay present. Presence is powerful right now. When you are present, you are less likely to drift back into old patterns or pressures. Avoid revisiting what always happened. The mind sometimes wants to analyze near misses in detail, replaying scenarios that never fully materialized. This can quietly reintroduce anxiety. You are not meant to rehearse danger. You are meant to walk forward in confidence. Trust that what was intercepted remains intercepted. If conversations arise during this period, choose listening over explaining. You do not owe clarity to others before it has fully settled within you. Boundaries formed during this time will feel natural, not forced. Respect that. Boundaries are not barriers. They are stabilizers. Another key focus is gratitude, but not performative gratitude. Quiet gratitude. The kind that acknowledges protection without needing full understanding. Gratitude strengthens alignment because it keeps your attention on what is secure rather than what was threatened. It reinforces trust rather than fear. You may also notice a renewed sense of direction beginning to form. Not a full plan, but a gentle pull. Do not rush to define it. Arachimajos with patience. Allow it to develop organically. Forced clarity often collapses. Earned clarity remains. Remember that alignment is not maintained through perfection. It is maintained through awareness. You will not do everything flawlessly in the next day. That is not required. What matters is that you remain responsive rather than reactive. Responsive to peace. Responsive to pause. Responsive to clarity. This period is also about restraint. Not every thought needs expression. Not every idea needs action. Not every opportunity needs acceptance. Restraint is not fear. It is wisdom. And wisdom protects what has been preserved. As you move through this window, trust that you are not being tested. You are being stabilized. The work happening now is quiet but foundational. It is strengthening the structure beneath what comes next so that when movement resumes fully, it does so with confidence and sustainability. Do not underestimate the power of these small, intentional choices. They are not insignificant. They are the way alignment is maintained after intervention. You are not responsible for guarding everything. You are responsible for honoring what has already been done. Walk gently through this time. Let awareness guide you. Let peace confirm your steps. And know that what lies ahead will make sense because of how you honored this moment. Beloved one, what you are hearing now is not a threat, and it is not meant to unsettle you. It is a warning wrapped in mercy, spoken not to create fear, but to preserve alignment. There is a difference between danger and instruction. Danger comes to harm. Instruction comes to guard. What you are receiving in this moment is instruction, clear, calm, and authoritative, so that what has already been secured is not gradually weakened through neglect or distraction. When an intersection happens this close to manifestation, there is always a follow-up phase. Not because protection is fragile, but because alignment must be honored to remain effective. What was stopped cannot return in the same form, but misalignment can create new openings if awareness is lost. This is not said to make you anxious. It is said to make you steady. The warning is simple. Do not drift back into automatic patterns. Automatic patterns are behaviors, thoughts, or reactions that operate without reflection. They are not always wrong, but they are often outdated. When alignment shifts, old patterns can quietly reintroduce pressure that no longer belongs. This is why awareness remains important, not as vigilance, but as presence. You may be tempted to treat this moment as complete and move on without integration. That temptation is common. When relief arrives, The mind often wants to return to normal quickly. But normal may include elements that were part of the pressure you were just spared from. This is why gentleness matters. Let your new clarity redefine what normal looks like. This warning is also about overcompensation. Some people respond to near misses by trying to control everything. They tighten their grip, overanalyze every decision, and become hyper-alert. That is not alignment. That is fear disguised as responsibility. You are not being asked to control outcomes. You are being asked to trust protection and cooperate with wisdom. Archangel Michael's authority does not require your constant effort to maintain it. What it does require is respect for boundaries. Boundaries of time, energy, conversation, and commitment. If something consistently pulls you out of peace, it deserves reconsideration. If something demands urgency without clarity, it deserves pause. These are not restrictions. They are safeguards. Another aspect of this warning is about voices. Not every voice deserves equal weight. Some voices speak from familiarity, not discernment. Others speak from urgency, not wisdom. And some speak from expectation rather than alignment. You do not need to silence everyone. You simply need to be selective about what influences your decisions. Influence is powerful. Choose it intentionally. This is also a moment to resist the urge to explain everything. Explanation can reopen doors that clarity has already closed. Not everyone needs to understand your pauses, your changes, or your boundaries. You are not required to justify alignment. Alignment stands on its own. There is mercy here because you are being told this before misalignment can settle back in. You are being reminded while clarity is still fresh. That is grace. Grace does not wait for failure. It intervenes before repetition. At the same time, this message is not meant to isolate you. Community still matters. Support still matters. Engagement still matters. When you like this message, share it, comment, subscribe, and support the mission or join the membership. You are helping this warning reach others before their moments of misalignment become moments of loss. This is not about growth for visibility. It is about reach for preservation. If this message has been steadying for you, let your engagement be an extension of that steadiness. These actions help place timely instruction into the paths of people who may not yet realize how close they are to drifting. Your participation matters more than you know. And now hear this carefully, because this is where the mercy deepens. You are not being warned because something bad is about to happen. You are being warned because something good is trying to stay intact. Protection does not always shout when danger is near. Sometimes it whispers when value is present. This is not a season to abandon discernment for comfort, nor is it a season to abandon peace for productivity. Balance is key. Alignment thrives in balance. You can move forward and remain aware. You can progress without pressure. You can build without burning out. And remember this: you are not doing this alone. Oversight did not arrive temporarily. It adjusted the course and remains active. Your role is not to guard the future. Your role is to honor the present with wisdom. Let this warning land where it needs to without heaviness. It is not here to alarm you. It is here to keep you aligned as momentum begins to rise again. And momentum will rise. Before you move on, allow this reminder to settle, because the clarity that follows will bring resolution to questions you have been carrying quietly. Hold your awareness here just a little longer, because this is where understanding deepens and confidence solidifies. Beloved one, this is the moment where everything that has been intercepted, realigned, and secured is now sealed with intention and authority. This is not a moment of asking, hoping, or wondering. This is a moment of declaration. What has already been established in the unseen is now being anchored into your conscious awareness so that nothing remains unstable, uncertain, or unfinished. When words are spoken with clarity and alignment, they do not merely describe reality, they confirm it. I declare peace over you now, not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances behaving perfectly, but the deep, rooted peace that remains steady even when answers are still unfolding. Let that peace settle into your thoughts, your breathing, and your inner dialogue. Let it quiet the noise that once competed for your attention. Let it replace mental urgency with calm confidence. His peace does not rush. It does not panic. It steadies. I declare clarity over your mind and decisions. Where confusion once lingered quietly, understanding now takes its place. Where you once felt pulled in multiple directions, your focus narrows to what truly matters. You will not be driven by pressure that is not yours to carry. You will not feel compelled to decide prematurely just to escape discomfort. Your choices will come from discernment, not desperation. I declare restoration over your energy. Every place where exhaustion entered without explanation is now replenished with steadiness. Strength returns gradually but consistently. Motivation no longer feels forced. Rest becomes effective again. You will not feel like you are constantly recovering from something unseen. The cycle of quiet depletion has been interrupted, and renewal is now flowing in its place. I declare protection over your emotional space. No careless word spoken over you will embed itself in your spirit. No misunderstanding will have authority to destabilize you. No external expectation will override your inner knowing. Emotional boundaries are being reinforced, not to isolate you, but to preserve what is sacred within you. You are allowed to feel without being overwhelmed. You are allowed to care without being drained. I declare order over your path. Where things felt scattered or disjointed, alignment begins to organize your steps. Loose ends find resolution. Delays untangle without force. You do not have to chase alignment or prove readiness. What belongs to you recognizes you without confusion. What is not meant to continue quietly loses its grip. I declare confidence restored within you. Not loud confidence that demands attention, but quiet assurance that does not need approval. You will trust your discernment again. You will honor your pauses without guilt. You will move forward without constantly explaining yourself. This confidence does not make you rigid. It makes you grounded and consistent. I declare that all interference has been fully neutralized. What was stopped remains stopped. What was removed does not return through another door. No alternative access points remain open. Oversight is active. Boundaries are enforced. You are not exposed. You are not vulnerable. You are covered with intention and authority. I declare synchronization over your timing. You will not miss what is meant for you. You will not arrive too early or too late. What unfolds next will do so with precision, even if it surprises you. Delays will serve purpose. Acceleration will come with peace. Nothing will feel chaotic, because alignment has been restored at the foundation. I declare heightened discernment without suspicion. Awareness sharpens without anxiety. You will sense when to move and when to wait, and that sensing will feel calm, not pressured. You will recognize alignment by the peace it carries, not by the urgency it demands. Your inner voice grows clearer, stronger, and more reliable. I declare alignment within your relationships. Connections that support your growth strengthen naturally. Connections that drain your energy loosen without conflict. You will not need to force distance or cling to familiarity. Alignment itself will determine proximity. You will recognize who belongs in your next season by the peace they bring. I declare that your future will not be shaped by what almost happened, but by what was preserved. And your misses do not define you. Interception does not weaken you. It refines you. You move forward without carrying the emotional weight of what you were spared from. The lesson arrived without the wound, and that is mercy. Let these declarations settle deeply, not as temporary encouragement, but as lasting assurance. You do not need to repeat them aloud unless you feel led. Agreement happens in awareness as much as in speech. What matters is that you recognize what has already been done on your behalf. This is not the end of a warning. This is the establishment of confidence. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment that has already been corrected, secured, and confirmed. What lies ahead will make sense because of what was intercepted behind you. Remain anchored in this truth. You are covered, you are clear, and you are moving forward with steadiness. Let peace confirm your steps. Let clarity guide your choices. And allow what unfolds next to reveal just how intentional this moment truly was. Beloved one, as this message now comes to its final sealing, allow yourself to slow down internally and truly receive what has taken place. This was never meant to be just a moment of information or a temporary emotional lift. It was a divine interruption with lasting intention. You were stopped because something mattered. You were redirected because something needed to be preserved. And you were reassured because fear was never meant to be the teacher in this season of your life. You must understand this clearly. Nothing was taken from you. Nothing was broken. Nothing slipped away. The interruption happened precisely so that loss would never become your reality. Heaven does not intervene this carefully unless what is being guarded has long-term significance. Your life is not being handled casually. Your timing is not being guessed at. There is oversight here, and it is deliberate. What almost happened does not get to define you. Your misses are not scars meant to follow you forward. They are confirmations meant to strengthen trust. You were spared not because you were unaware, but because awareness was activated in time. That awareness will remain with you, guiding you gently rather than pressuring you harshly. As you move forward from this moment, do not look for signs of danger. Look for signs of peace. Peace is now your confirmation. When peace is present, alignment is active. When peace remains, protection is holding. You do not need to monitor every outcome or anticipate every possibility. That is not your role. Your role is to walk forward with trust, clarity, and steadiness. You may notice that your priorities feel different now. Things that once consumed your emotional energy may no longer feel important. Conversations that once felt urgent may now feel optional. This is not disinterest. It is discernment. Discernment always follows intervention. When the fog lifts, vision sharpens, and life begins to simplify itself. Let this moment mark the end of unnecessary tension. You do not need to carry silent pressure anymore. You do not need to brace yourself for impact that has already been prevented. What was intercepted will not circle back in another form. Boundaries have been set. Access has been restricted. Oversight remains in place. This message was never meant to make you dependent on warnings. It was meant to remind you that you are supported, that you are seen, that your path is guided even when you are tired, distracted, or unsure. That reminder is meant to empower you, not weaken you. As the days unfold, allow confidence to return naturally. Not the kind that rushes ahead, but the kind that moves steadily. You will know when to act and when to wait. You will sense when something is aligned and when something is not. And you will trust yourself again, because clarity has been restored at the foundation. Nothing meant for you will require you to abandon peace in order to obtain it. And nothing aligned with your future will demand panic, fear, or compromise. What belongs to you will arrive with confirmation, not confusion. And what does not belong will continue to lose its hold, even if it once felt important. Carry gratitude with you, but let it be quiet and deep. Gratitude that does not come from relief alone, but from trust. Trust that heaven intervenes before harm. Trust that timing is not slipping away from you. Trust that you are moving forward with more protection than you can see. This chapter closes with assurance, not anxiety. With stability, not suspense. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment that has already been corrected and confirmed. The interruption did its work. The danger has passed. The blessing has been released. Now seal this moment in agreement. Type "I am sealed and secure" in the comments if your spirit receives this confirmation. Blessing code 902 has now been released. And now, hear this final support call, because it flows directly from the heart of this message. What protected you today is meant to protect others tomorrow. This message exists because a mission exists: to intercept lives before loss, confusion, or misalignment can take hold. I am speaking to you personally now. The Lord is saying that when you sow into this work, you are not giving to a channel. You are placing a shield in someone else's path. Scripture tells us that seed sown into good ground produces a harvest far beyond what the giver can see. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, by joining membership, or through PayPal, the links are in the description. You are becoming part of a divine interception. I declare that every person who responds in obedience will see peace established where tension once lived, protection released over their household, and clarity multiplied in their decisions. Do not delay. Stand with this mission. Release your seed now, because this is not merely an invitation. This is a divine command.